those questions ready. Oh man, 10 seconds. Welcome to Solid Saturday.
Hi, Daniel. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
What a success story.
We
Straight
did it.
weeks of my audio working.
We did it. Welcome one, welcome all. It is
Yes.
another rendition of Solid Saturday. I guess this is what, the third time now that we've attempted this, given this the old college try. We got your mic working.
Oh my God, what a joy. What an absolute joy.
Welcome everyone on in. Here is the way this works. I am
Week
Ty.
this many, right? 5?
What's that?
It's week 5? Is
Week
that what
5?
we're at?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Oof.
Week 5. So welcome everybody. Here's the way this thing works. I am Ty. He is Dan with a Solid Verbal. If you are watching on YouTube, you can go down below and click on the link to go to solidverbal.com. We do a podcast 3 days a week. Subscribe to the podcast. We've got a bunch of our Patreon subscribers who are going to be stopping on by. If you're interested in that, you can go to verballers.com. Most importantly, if you do nothing else, make sure you hit subscribe on the YouTube channel.
Yes.
Smash the like, as they say in the gaming world, and also hit the little bell so you are notified whenever we get new content posted out to this here channel. Dan, how are you today? What was your breakfast routine?
I don't eat breakfast. I took the solid toddler to the farmer's market and got him a smoothie, got some sourdough bread to make my wife some tomato toast of some kind at some point, because I'm always looking for forgiveness for erasing her weekends with me.
You too? You too? Interesting.
Yeah. I have children, Tyler, that I'm saddling, small children that I'm saddling her with. So I try to go above and beyond. So try being the operative word. I am quite excited though. I'm good. I'm a little bit sweaty. I'm feeling just over the moon for week 5, and the week 5 we have ahead. You can see in the ticker down below the action that we have that we're going to talk about. We've got various windows to talk about. Thank you to everybody who's already watching. Get some questions in between each of the windows. We are going to be taking your questions and comments and responding to them to the best of our ability. I'd say B to B plus is probably our ceiling, but
oh yeah, if
that's
that.
not bad. How are you? What's new in your Saturday world?
I'm good. I want to tell you about something that occurred to me in the middle of the night last night.
I'm ready.
I had a bit of a
Hi,
vision.
it's normal. It happens to boys all the time. It's totally normal.
I wanted to talk to you about the Maryland-Iowa game that occurred last night. So,
please.
Miami played on Thursday. They doinked a field goal and lost to Virginia.
Mhm.
Could have won, but lost. And there was, of course, a Boise State game. Boise State won by 14 on the road, won by 14 on the road against Utah State. Iowa went on the road last night and played against Maryland. Iowa was a 3.5-point favorite. A lot of folks, I think both you and I were on Maryland. Love Maryland.
Yeah. I have some Iowa fans in their feelings in my mentions. You have to tweet me before the game. You have to tell me I'm wrong beforehand. That's the key. You can't be a win barnacle. Come on.
Maryland surrendered 7 turnovers in that game, 4 of which occurred in the second quarter. They also gave up 10 penalties. You can't win with 7 turnovers and 10 penalties. I don't care who you are. Sure. So I started brainstorming, and I have my trusty little notepad here. Mm-hmm. And so I was coming up with puns.
Yeah.
Talia Tunga O Noah. Talia Tunga Don't Throw.
Yeah.
I finally, thank you for the music. I finally settled on Talia Krakatoa because, of course, an important callback to the 1883 volcanic eruption that was just ridiculous. And then it came to me in the middle of the night. It's here on the pad.
Okay.
Talia Jason Momoa. I don't know why I woke up. I wrote it down.
Comedic voice of a generation. Ty Hildenbrand.
I woke up. I had Jason Momoa in my head. It sort of rhymed.
Yeah.
And I just wrote it down and I went back to sleep, Dan. So that's how my morning's been going so far.
Okay. I'm going to give the first few, I'm going to give them 3 Jack Fowlers.
Okay.
Like, I appreciate the effort and taking notes and writing it down. That indicates that you care.
Well, thank you.
The Jason Momoa, I'm going with 1 Jack Fowler. It
Yeah,
was not
me
worth
too.
waking
Me
up
too.
and writing down.
You know, it came to me like Our Lady of Fatima, the vision, and I just, you know what, I'm just going to write it down, and we're going to roll with it because we're all friends.
I appreciate it
on the show. So you flashed it up to Jack Fowler's, excuse me.
Yeah.
The way this thing works is we're going to talk you through each of the 3 main windows of college football games today. We're going to grade them on a scale from 0 Jack Fowlers all the way up to 5 jacked Chris Fowlers, depending on how excited we are for that.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's the full Fowler.
The schmedium that he's wearing. It's a full Fowler for sure. We would again encourage you to go on out to solidverbal.com, check out the podcast, Big Boy Bets, another podcast that you're part of. And while you're over there, you can click on articles and view a full readout of the slate of games today called the Solid Slate. Our boy Connor puts that together. If you're looking for some sneaky stats that might help influence where things go on this college football Saturday, Travis May puts together sneaky stats every Tuesday.
Yeah.
And Bradley, man, Bradley's dealing aces. Fun fall activities for every college football fan, which we posted on the website yesterday. We'll tweet out a couple of times throughout the course of today and really throughout the fall. It's important reading. Going out there, solidverbal.com, Dan.
Couldn't agree more with all that. We keep getting those comments and questions in. I see that they're coming in fast and furious. There's comments about potential starters or not starters or injuries or rumors and all sorts of stuff. We're going to get to as many as humanly possible between all of those windows. What we're doing here, Ty, is brick by brick. We're building a show, an entertainment product, and we are more organized than we've ever been. And I have a soundboard now, and
that's a problem.
It's a nightmare. We also have a stream within a stream, a new stream within a stream. We have given a team a network. We had last week, we had the Sparty Superstation. This week we have a new TV network for a very specific team because everybody deserves a TV network. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add before we get into that early window, but
I'm ready to dive in, man.
You ready to look at the graphic?
I got my Kid Icarus music here.
Yeah.
Locked and loaded to play. Yeah. As a nice little bed, if you will.
All right. You tell me when you want to see that graphic.
You flash it up first and then I'll.
There it is.
Look at this technology we got, Dan.
Oh my God. I'm dancing. You can't see me dancing, but I'm dancing.
Number 8, Arkansas at Georgia on ESPN. That's a nooner.
That would be number 2, Georgia. I forgot the rank, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Number 14, Michigan on the road at Wisconsin on Fox. Yes. Texas at TCU. Pitt at Georgia Tech. Louisville at number 24.
I misspelled Louisville. Look at that. I'm really on my game.
You spelled it like sous vide. Louisville.
So it's not Louisville. It's just Louisville. The way I spelled it.
At Wake Forest, number 24.
Yeah.
Wake Forest is ranked. Okay, so which of those games are you most excited for? Maybe it's a rhetorical question, but which of those games are you most excited for?
Georgia, Arkansas. I think Georgia, Arkansas is going to be fantastic. Although I did see rumors. Now, this is in the comments. I have not confirmed it. I don't know who's reporting it. I don't know if it's a message board thing that JT Daniels will not be starting. That he. Do you remember an injury situation?
Do you remember on these here tube of views that we got a comment on one of our early Georgia preview videos? Like, how can you be so how could you say that JT Daniels is injury prone?
Who could have imagined? And he might be starting. I don't know. Maybe it's just a bad rumor. Who knows?
How do you feel about that game? So we talked about it on the Wednesday preview show that we did. At the time, the point spread was 18.5 in favor of the Georgia Bulldogs. At least as of this morning, that has come down now to 16.5. My guess is, and again, when we recorded, I remembered looking at the public betting numbers, and like 80% of people were on Arkansas. 80% of the people were looking at that point spread and being like, ooh.
Right.
I like Georgia, but I don't know if I like them that much. Even 16 feels like a lot to me.
Yeah. By the way, I did just look up JT Daniels and his status as you were speaking. So I was pulling double duty here. This is what I can report, Ty. Officially, I can report. JT Daniels has walked back to the locker room while the other quarterbacks remain on the field. That's from Anthony Dasher, who is the managing editor for UGAsports.com.
Okay.
Did you like that news?
Maybe he had to go to the loo.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
I still feel that that's too many points, especially if it's a Stetson Bennett situation, though I think he's good to pretty good, somewhere in there. I'm worried about Arkansas scoring points. And so if I were a wagering type, I think the under is extremely attractive, but I can't wait to see, especially if KJ Jefferson, Treylon Burks have rested and have gotten healthier, if they're able to at least pop a couple bigger plays, because we don't know what Georgia's win over Clemson fully means as Clemson's offense careens off the road. So I'm very excited because Arkansas just comes to play in these games. Even generally speaking, in last year with Sam Pittman, Arkansas they're an effort team. And I love to see that. So that's the game I'm most excited for. I'm going to ignore Michigan, Wisconsin as if it's not even happening. That's not true. I'll watch it on a second TV. But otherwise, no, that's my headliner. What about you?
My headliner is definitely Arkansas, Georgia. I do want to talk about Michigan, Wisconsin, though, because as you know, we have a friend in the desert who we've been texting with throughout the course of the week. And he is adamant about the fact that Wisconsin is the pick. Wisconsin is the pick. And there's a multitude of stats and reasons why. I've watched 3 of Wisconsin's games. I can't find those reasons after watching what they've done in those first few weeks. Now, that being said, Michigan looked like a different team in the second half last week against Rutgers. That was not exactly an impressive offensive showing. They were shut out in that game in the second half. I am going to ride with the home team and go Wisconsin Badgers. But
Badgers.
I cannot honestly give you a good reason why.
Well, I mean, if you're going to go with a team that is just hoping to destroy somebody physically and the football is a kind of optional, that's the sound you get.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm at. I mean, I don't really have a great reason why. I'm just going to go with the home team. Like I told you on our previous show, I spent a good hour trying to figure out where's the edge here, Dan. You know, how we feeling about this game? Where can I get maybe a little bit of an advantage for one team over the other?
Right.
I couldn't find it, man. I really couldn't. So I'm going to go Wisconsin just because they're home. I think that's as good a reason as any.
Yeah, my pick in Michigan, I'm going to stand with, just because at a certain point you're matching quarterbacks up against each other, and I'm giving a razor's edge to Cade McNamara over Graham Mertz just because we've seen Graham Mertz against defenses with pulses in Penn State and Notre Dame, and Cade McNamara was fine against Washington, which is, I think, the best defense that Michigan has played. So, okay, excuse me. He was not fine against Washington. I fully take that back. But they won that game. He wasn't a reason they lost that game. And they won that game comfortably. And he made a couple plays anyway. So I'm going to go with Michigan. I think the special teams is a thing. If we're looking at this game as 13-10, 17-13 in some direction, I'll go with the margins with the Michigan. For that, that's how it works for me, even on the road.
All right. So very quickly, Texas.
Should I go back to the window? Do you want to go show the window one more time?
Show the window one more time. I've got a...
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I've got the poll up now. People can vote.
Yeah.
It only gives me 4 options. So I started with 2 Jack Fowlers all the way up to 5. But Texas is favored on the road at TCU. TCU's had Texas's number in the last couple seasons, but TCU's defense has been pretty bad in the early going. Pitt at Georgia Tech is interesting. Pitt is favored by a few points, but Georgia Tech has been plucky, so don't count them out. And then Louisville. We also have the Wake Watchers overlay, which I'm.
Oh, that's right. Ty, good call on that.
Add to the
I've
broadcast
got that.
right
We're
now.
Wake
Thank
watchers. We
you.
think the potential to get to, what did you say? 8-0?
8-0 by November. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't
Okay.
stop, won't stop. I like Wake Forest. They're favored by 7. The move is to bet the over in that game. I think it's like 60.5. At least it was 60.5. I think that's the move if you're a betting
That's
man.
interesting.
But in any case, I think Wake wins. I think Wake extends their unbeaten streak to 5-0. They keep gradually moving up in the polls.
All right. Okay. Any other of the I know you have the schedule, the more full schedule in front of you. Any other games? I really had trouble. I wanted to put other games, and I was like, I guess Pitt, Georgia Tech. I guess. I think it's an ACC network or ESPN3 game. One of those is
ACC network,
ESPN3.
yeah.
So what do you give?
No others that jump out at me.
What do you give that early slate in terms of Jack Fowlers? Give me a number out of 5.
2.
I'll give it 3. We have a top 10 matchup. There's my 3. Ty's going 2 Jack
2.
Fowlers.
2 JFs,
Jack
yeah.
Chris Fowlers.
Yep.
Out of a potential 5.
For what it's worth, by the way, the listener poll here has it at 4 Jack Fowlers is the winner.
Okay.
So for whatever that's worth.
Okay. Fair enough. Should we go to some comments and questions?
Let's take some comments. What are folks
like 1,000 of?
What are folks saying?
All right, we've got CCAN P. We love plucky teams. Agree.
True.
I'm just scrolling through here. Let's see if we have any questions, Ty. As I go to the comments, questions. I got to have more soundboard.
No, nobody needs more of Dan's soundboard.
Everybody is so into it.
Do not encourage him.
I did forget to mention we were talking Arkansas, Georgia, that of course, Arkansas.
The Kings of Texas.
The Kings of Texas.
Texas state champion, Arkansas Razorbacks, right?
Look at this. I'm a fan of his enthusiasm about the soundboard.
Listen,
who's making the Dan soundboard Twitter account?
If we're going to use the comments section to pat you on the back, I'm going to suggest we move to the next window.
Okay, here we go. This is for a later window. Our old friend. This is Royce, right?
Yeah. I think I saw he's going to this game, isn't he?
What? Oh, yeah.
I think he's going to this game.
That letdown look ahead from last week by Auburn will lead a focused Tigers team that will break the curse this week. Be more specific. We have 2 teams that are named the Tigers that are prone to being a letdown squad or a look ahead squad, but I understand where you're coming from. We have Michigan ain't played nobody. I think Western Michigan beat Pitt, right?
Western Michigan beat Pitt 44-41. Shootout. We've
got our friend Connor saying, bet the under and Hogs Dogs.
Hogs Dogs.
That rhyming.
That's a very ferocious bear, by the way.
It is a very ferocious bear. David, TCU's defense can't stop the deep ball or the run. But other than that, in a changing world, I'm not going to do that again.
Thank you.
I'm looking. You can't see the comments as they're coming. Oh, you can see them on YouTube, right?
I can see them. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any? Okay, here we go. How do Michigan fans react if they lose a close one to Scotty? Now, if you're a Michigan fan and the Wolverines lose this game 13-10, is it kind of expected, or are you pissed that they have this opportunity with a down Wisconsin team on the road and Michigan can't take advantage?
I think all hell breaks loose.
Really?
Oh yeah, I do. Especially with the way Michigan started.
Yeah.
Especially with the way Michigan started. The offense has been dynamic, especially on the ground. Cade McNamara. Look, we haven't seen a whole lot of him through the air because we haven't had to. There is a ceiling there. We have not seen him reach it yet, but there is. Trust me, there's a ceiling. He's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if they come to a point in this game where they can't run and they can't score points, all hell's going to break loose. And losing to Wisconsin on its own right is not a bad thing in a normal year. But I think we've already seen enough Wisconsin to know that good defense, maybe not much on the offensive side. 13-10 would not go over well in Ann Arbor.
Of course not, but it's still Wisconsin on a certain level because of that defense. Now, they're at Nebraska the following week. You lose that.
Okay.
That's problematic.
That's probably the death blow, but
Northwestern at home after a bye week. You lose that game against whoever is playing quarterback for Northwestern with this incredibly down. That's bad. Indiana's bad. Like a loss to Indiana in Ann Arbor. I think Indiana's below average this year, but I don't know. I'll look at just more comments on the soundboard.
No more.
LOL soundboard. Love the Home Depot sound.
Oh my God.
There we go. That's the stuff. I presume about the soundboard. Okay, so how about this? You addressed how Iowa murdered the Terps.
I did. Yep.
So Oregon Mike, I think we're good there. I appreciate Ty throwing in some Catholic lore.
Yep. Right.
What was that? What was the Catholic
I threw
lore?
in an Our Lady of Fatima just to.
Oh, see that.
Yep. I just threw that one in there.
Another week of Ty not wearing his team's apparel. Is this some kind of superstition?
It is not a superstition.
Right.
I have one Notre Dame t-shirt. I actually have two. I have one Notre Dame shirt it's this color and it's got the leprechaun on it. And then I have another one, which was a shirt that we bought. I bought this shirt in place of the $900 ticket to go and see Notre Dame get smoked by Alabama in that Orange Bowl back in 2012 or 2013, whatever that was. I bought the shirt. The shirt's seen better days, but I still have it somewhere in the wardrobe.
It's a wings, buffalo, chicken dip, and chili Saturday for college football here. And is it Comer, Georgia? I apologize for not knowing the right pronunciation there, but all of that sounds delicious.
Wonderful.
I didn't know about buffalo chicken dip until maybe the last 5-7 years. It's a big Midwestern thing too. Are you a buffalo chicken dip fan?
A fan is putting it.
Be honest, Ty. This is a very safe place.
I can dabble.
Okay.
But to say I'm a fan would be a gross disservice to buffalo chicken dip.
Okay, fair enough. Should we move on to our afternoon window? Get your music ready. You ready?
I got what do I got here? This is Metroid. Yeah, I'm ready. Go ahead.
Great call. Here it is.
You got it?
I got it.
Get you fired up, man.
A big one right there, Ty. Cincy, Notre Dame, 2:30 Eastern time.
2:30 Eastern time, Cincy, number 7, Cincinnati. On the road at Notre Dame. 3:30, we've got Ole Miss at Bama, Oregon at Stanford, Oklahoma at Kansas State, Nevada at Boise State.
Yeah.
Those are your 5 games here. We've got many more, again, going out to solidverbal.com. We've got an article published called The Solid Slate where we walk you through. Connor, who is in the chat this morning. Hello, Connor. He walks you through the full slate and what you should watch on your big screen, your small screen, your mobile screen.
Sure.
What have you. Okay. This is 5 Jack Fowlers for me.
Here we go. 5 out of 5 friggin' Jack Fowlers.
5 Jack Fowlers. Well, just big pop a pump. Thank you, Dan. My team is playing in that Cincinnati Notre Dame game. That's not why it's 5 Jack Fowlers. I will be 5 Jack
in that window too.
I will be 5 Jack Fowlers for that game. I will be fired up. I'm ready to go. The game that I am most excited for, maybe all year, is freaking Alabama against Ole Miss.
We hope.
I'm thrilled for that football game, Dan.
As am I. I'm thrilled at the potential of it. We don't really know Ole Miss.
No.
But the now that I've seen season 1, right? It's the hope that kills you of Ted Lasso.
Yep.
And my hope is that it's an incredibly competitive game because Lane Kiffin called a hell of an offense last year, scored nearly 50 against Alabama in a losing effort. But yeah, I wish we had a little more data on Ole Miss to fully justify our excitement.
This was just a ton of fun last year.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said on our broadcast on Wednesday, our preview show, which you still have time to listen to, by the way, if you're ever so inclined, I'm getting a little bit out over my skis in saying that I'm interested in Ole Miss outright here. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen this year.
Right.
And so why not? We're wrong 50% of the time anyway. Mm-hmm. What difference does it make if you've got a game like this wrong where there's going to be a lot of points? The point spread's 14.5, which feels like a lot to me. Of course, every Alabama game, it feels like a lot. And they end up covering. But this just feels different. This feels a little bit like the Florida game and the Ole Miss game that we saw last year. Like maybe these coaches, maybe these teams have something figured out, some inside track on finding a way to keep it close against Alabama, especially in a year where Alabama's got, they're a little dinged up and they've got some new faces across the board. I don't know if they're vulnerable. That's probably a bridge too far, but they're they're definitely a little bit more gettable than we've come to know in recent years.
I agree. The injuries up front on defense worry me that they're beat up there. That Ole Miss has a quarterback who has the confidence of knowing he can throw against Bama and succeed. Now, no Elijah Moore, no Kenny Yeboah this year, but there is something tantalizing. The game is in Tuscaloosa, though. That's I don't know. I think a lot of issues are going to be corrected. I do like this Bama defense, though. The fact that they were pushed around by Florida up front, that's concerning. It is concerning. That is an undeniable reality about this year's Alabama team. But that was in the swamp. They were up 21-3, and things slowed down as Florida got better. I'm excited for it too, Ty. I'm right there with you. I can't wait.
How do you feel about the
window? Yeah.
How do you feel about the Notre Dame Cincinnati game? I'm obviously not an objective judge of that game.
Two teams who I think have disappointed in terms of what we believe their ceilings and potential to be. A slow start for both of these teams. They haven't lost. You win your clunkers. You start slow against Murray State. You don't separate until the end against a down Indiana offense, especially. It's concerning if we're going to talk about Cincinnati as at least playoff caliber, not necessarily playoff reality team. And Notre Dame, of course, their struggles to separate have been well documented. I'm quite excited. Because we know a good deal about both of these teams. Jerome Ford is incredibly fun to watch. Two really good sets of running backs on both sides of the field. The defenses should be great. There's a very dangerous matchup with Cincinnati's defensive line and Notre Dame's beat up and has taken a step back offensive line. But they're just all over the field. There's a lot of really interesting matchups, and I'm quite excited for it.
Cincinnati's favored by 2. And I have a hard time laying 2 points at home if you're Notre Dame. And I don't have data on this at all, but we've been talking about home dogs all year. We've been talking about how great it is to have the fans back all year. It seems like the home teams get like a little bit of an extra edge so far in 2021. I'm worried about Notre Dame's offensive line. I have been all year. And I don't know if this game is going to give us any more clarity. Generally speaking, that's not something you could flip a switch and fix overnight. Not when you've got injuries, not when you've got guys playing out of position. Like it's going to take like a year, honestly, for them to figure it out. And it will be really good in a year or two. It's just getting through this year and getting through this game, I think, is really going to be a challenge. What I remain very curious about, I think Jack Cohn's going to play. I won't do my diatribe right now about how Jack Cohn shouldn't be playing, but I think he will be the guy going to this game.
Do you think if Notre Dame starts Drew Pine, they have a better chance at winning this game and scoring 28, 35 points, whatever?
It depends how Notre Dame's line looks. It depends if they're able to run the ball. It depends if Jack Cohn is a statue back there like he was last week and he got sacked 5 times.
Sure.
If they need a little bit more mobility to move the pocket and give him more time in the passing game, then I'm okay with it. But I don't know much about Drew Pine. I don't know much about Tyler Buckner. All we've really done is see him run. But I'm just curious to see if they decide that they want to go to one of those guys in the event that they need a little bit more mobility at the quarterback position. But that's the matchup. Like, it doesn't always need to be complicated. The matchup is Notre Dame's offensive line. If they can push Cincinnati off the ball, if they can run, if they can protect their quarterback, they'll win. If not,
what's your Saturday morning pick right now? What's the latest spread?
Latest spread is Cincinnati by 2. And I take Notre Dame.
I'm going Bearcats. I'm going Bearcats.
Okay.
I trust the quarterback situation more, and to me, when something is that close, that's what I'm going to roll with. Afternoon window, other matchups that intrigue you.
I want you to talk about Oregon and Stanford real quick, why the point spread is not higher than 8. And then we're going to close out. Well, I saw you had Nevada Boise up there, but we do have to mention Oklahoma, now an 11.5-point road favorite at Kansas State. This is, again, a revenge game because K-State's won the last 2 seasons.
Oregon doesn't pounce on teams. Oregon has the great win against Ohio State. Oregon is not a pounce team, not when they can't throw the ball downfield consistently. The passing game holds them back from being that separation station type train. And so Even with Stanford's struggles on defense, teams have run on Stanford, and Stanford has struggled to run. There is something about Oregon, the combination of not being able to throw downfield and how beat up they are at linebacker, guys getting out of position on play action. We saw Arizona dominate, in a matter of speaking, the time of possession, able to just keep moving the chains on 3rd and 4s and stuff like that. That's the problem with Oregon right now. So they're just not a team that can beat a clearly lesser team 35-13 to me as of this moment. That might change today with Stanford's struggles on both sides of the ball, but I think that's why we're seeing the line where it is. Now, Mario Cristobal traditionally has been better on the road. Whatever, he's gotten his Oregon teams more focused on the road. But yeah, that's why it's not double digits. This is a flawed, very good Oregon team.
Flawed, very good Oregon team.
Yeah.
Okay. And speaking of flawed, Oklahoma's offense has looked anemic, somewhat anemic, at least by their standards, for 3 of their first 4 games. And now they're going on the road to Manhattan, Kansas. Kansas State's team. Yep. Kansas State's had their number. Don't know what the status is of their quarterback, Skylar Thompson. He was seen moving about the field last week. Would not rule out the possibility of him getting out there. Maybe they've already ruled that out. I don't know. I didn't look this morning, but I would be inclined to go points here. I think Oklahoma wins. I think they get their revenge on K-State. But with the way the offense has looked, we've given it enough time. We've given it a month at this point. And the one thing that Oklahoma is supposed to be better at than everybody, those big chunk plays, the explosive plays, they've just not been good at all.
Yeah.
And so the one arrow in the quiver, Dan, that they have over everybody else, they don't have this year. So
yeah,
you could pick them to win, but to cover, I'm not picking them to cover that spread.
We had Andy Staples on the show this week, and he made a very good point about Oklahoma, and that is this is a team that has developed NFL offensive linemen. And right now, the offensive line is not at a place where Oklahoma is either giving a quarterback time or opening up lanes consistently in the running game. And so that is something that's it's difficult to fix unless they're expecting 4 way better dudes to get healthy in a week or two, which they're not. And so it's way more difficult to fix than, okay, we now know our quarterback strengths and weaknesses and we're crafting an offense that better suits them. Or, we're moving this receiver inside, or we're not going to run as much on first down. Like when everything, according to David Pollack, starts up front.
It all starts up front, yeah.
If that's where it begins and Oklahoma's offensive line isn't where it was, it's okay to make peace with Oklahoma being good but not great, because I think that's sort of a reality right now. So I'm right there with you. Now, Kansas State has been good up front, but they're beat up at quarterback, and they've had like drop issues among the receiving core. Like they have their own issues that could end up with Oklahoma covering this game. But I think we just have to reevaluate where we are with Oklahoma.
How many Jack Fowlers are you, by the way?
For this one, you said 5?
I am 5. And by the way, the community is also in unison with 5. 45% are at 5 and 30% are at 4. So
I'm full
75%.
5 out of 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 5 out of 5 is the obvious answer. I'm right there with you.
Okay, let's take some comments and questions, and
we got a lot of them.
What's going on?
All right. About the games. If OU goes undefeated, they should be in the college football playoff. Sure. If any team goes undefeated in a Power 5 conference, that's where they'll be. But
agreed,
man. Some more Oklahoma thoughts. I said it before. Fade Oklahoma so long as they keep getting these generous spreads. Ty, I think we're aligned with Craig here.
We are one with Craig for sure.
More like Spencer rattled. Am I right?
That's it. It's not Tua, or it's not Talia
Jason Momoa,
or Talia Jason Momoa written down middle of the night.
Right.
But it's good. It's good, David. Keep working on it.
Alex, Brian Kelly's Notre Dame isn't allowed to have a quarterback without a controversy. It's just not allowed.
It's not a thing. It
was Ian Book was uncontroversial last year.
But when he was.
And just in terms of there wasn't a backup that you were like, this guy is clearly better.
Exactly. Quarterbacks have really been the one thing the one thing for Brian Kelly that they have yet to fully crack the code on. And you'll
Right.
recall the situation with Deshaun Kaiser and Malik Zaire, that just bottomed out. They've just never really had stable quarterback play. They got it to some extent with Ian Book, but he was just very limited. There's very limited upside there. He was a winning quarterback. He did well.
He was probably one of the best 10 quarterbacks in college football last year.
Man, Ian Book drove me up a freaking tree. He drove me up a freaking tree because you knew that if the first read wasn't there, or if the receiver was like 30 yards down the field, he was just going to run it.
Sure.
Run it. And it was just very predictable and hard to watch. At least in that sense, Jack Cohn, or virtually anybody this year on Notre Dame's roster, gives them a little bit more in the passing game. So
reports from SB, I assume Cooper means Santa Barbara, but I suppose he might mean South Bend. SB is always Santa Barbara to me. Got 50% of the snaps in practice. Did you see rumblings of that?
I blacked out, honestly, after last week's game. Pine came in, he looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And he's definitely a little bit more mobile. There was at least one play where he had a little bit of Baker Mayfield in him. And I didn't want to get too excited. I didn't want to tweet it out because I knew I'd get pushback from everybody. But I'm curious if we see him. I guess we're not going to see Buckner. I don't know who we're going to see. I'm just very curious to see what happens at that quarterback position moving forward, because it's very clear that Cohn gives them more in the downfield passing game. They like that, but
Sure.
He is a statue. He is a statue back there. When you've got a bad offensive line, having a statue is not always favorable.
Are you guys excited for Purdue, Minnesota?
I am.
Over Ballerhood.
Purdue's favored by 2.5. I don't know why that line's not higher. Minnesota might be the worst team in college football.
What?
They're horrible.
What?
They're horrible.
Not even close to true. It might be true because they did lose to what might have been the worst
so bad
last year in college
so
football.
Bad this year.
The worst team in college football is UConn. The worst team in college football, who I believe plays at Vanderbilt today.
Right. Correct.
Woof. UConn Vanderbilt is a toughie. UMass toughie. New Mexico State toughie. Minnesota is not that team. They're not the worst team, but
you had to think about it. You had to think about it.
What else do we have here? We have some more Notre Dame thoughts. How about this one? This is from our buddy Connor. If Cincinnati beats Notre Dame and goes undefeated, how will that take playoff? Whatever. By what score, if we presume Cincinnati runs the table after beating Notre Dame in the American, which is a difficult conference, but they do it in double-digit, consistent fashion where you think to yourself, that's a really good team. What is today's Notre Dame winning score that pushes them over the top, that if situationally you're deciding between a 12-0, 13-0 Cincinnati and a 12-1 whoever, Oklahoma, what does that score need to be for, and like the actual optics of the game? Like, you can't leave Cincinnati out after that win over Notre Dame. Do they, if they beat them 42-10?
Oh yeah. I mean,
okay.
You're asking what's the margin of victory?
Yeah. What are the crumbs of doubt that have to be left?
Well, it's harder for Cincinnati. You're always fighting uphill.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
It's harder. And so the truth is there may not be a number, but if they go out there and if they beat them by 4 touchdowns, you beat them by 4 touchdowns. You beat them by 30 points.
What about
it might not be
35-20? 35-20, never in doubt. Maybe it was 35-13 with 3 minutes left and they score a touchdown.
I think it's got to be more. I think it's got to be
more.
Got to be more.
On the road.
They're fighting against the man here, trying to stick it to the man. College football doesn't want Cincinnati in the playoff. They don't want that.
A good point here, by the way. Notre Dame also has to do their part after losing to Cincinnati and look really good after losing convincingly to Cincinnati. Right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's
for
the
sure.
big thing too. Which I don't know if we're gonna see that.
This is the hardest game on Notre Dame's schedule. It's the hardest game on Notre Dame's schedule, and the schedule's not. It's not as hard or as easy, weirdly, as I expected at this point in the season. Like it's solid. They play decent enough teams. They play bowl caliber teams. from here on out, and that will bode well for them. They're very good at scheduling teams like that. And
Right.
so they will have their opportunity to kind of settle in and make their mark, whether they win or lose here. But on the Cincinnati side in particular, they just got to rip them limb from limb. They got to rip them limb from limb because it's just so tough for them.
Sorry.
Okay. Let's go to our next window, Dan.
But before we hit the next window, this is what I want to discuss during said window. What's the assessment of Penn State? Because I believe Penn State, Indiana, right, is in this window.
It is.
Is it not? Yeah, it's the night game.
It is
All
a
right.
nightcap.
All right, here we go. Next window. Do you have the music ready? All right. I'll get rid of the banner on the bottom so we can see the final game.
6 p.m. Number 10, Florida at Kentucky. 7 p.m. Baylor at Oklahoma State. 7:30, there's a Penn State game. Indiana at Penn State, also Boston College at Clemson. And then for all you wackos who want to stay up to 10:30, maybe you're on the West Coast and you're not a wacko. Arizona State at UCLA on FS1.
Could be quite fun.
Yeah, okay. So what's my assessment of Penn State?
Yeah.
My assessment of Penn State is this is the Inigo Montoya revenge game of the week.
Okay. Do you have a graphic for that? Or did I have a graphic for that?
We're working on a graphic for that.
We're working on a graphic. Yeah.
I think they're going to destroy Indiana. I think Indiana is mediocre at best. I think I'm stunned that the point spread is lower than 14 points. I think as of recording, it's 11.5 or 12.5. I would take that in a heartbeat. I did take that in a heartbeat when it was a little bit lower.
Yeah.
I think this is a really good Penn State team. I think they're settling into their new offense. And I don't trust Michael Penix a lick. I think he's looked off since coming back from injury. I like Michael Penix as a player, as a person. I love his story. I'm glad that he's back out there. This is a different Indiana team than it was a year ago. And
is it a limb from limb situation? If it is indeed an Inigo Montoya game?
Oh, you do have it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I had
it's 21 points. It's 21 points. Notre Dame. Penn State wins by 21 points. At home, at night. Yeah, come on. They'll be fired up.
Okay. What else interests you in this window?
Well, I mean, the Boston College Clemson game is intriguing to me. Man. I don't really know what to expect on either side of that.
Right. All I know, Ty, is it's time because Boston College has looked so good, and you've been making fun of me so often for my love for Jeff Hafley and a Boston College squad who just keep winning, even without Phil Jurkovec. I think it's time Boston College got its own network. How do you feel about that? There it is. There it is. Okay. NBC, let me get rid of this. NBC, Ty, the network of Boston College. Let's be homers here. We have Mayor Quimby and Cliff from Cheers in there and the bridge. Talk to me about BC. Let's really let loose as BC homers, the BC homers that we are.
I'm surprised you don't have the Dennis Grossel Pop Funko back behind you. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Boston College, one of the reasons we like Boston College, this is before Phil Jurkovec went down, was because the schedule was very workable. Now, this game obviously represents probably still the toughest on the schedule.
Sure.
But like Boston College had a very workable September, and now they start getting into better teams. I think they're solid. I think they play well as a team. I don't think what we saw last year was a fluke. I think they will play well. I think they will fight Clemson as best they can. My question is one of offense. You know, how many points do they need? The line's 15.5. So can they cover that? Probably against Clemson. I don't know. But
how many points
do they need to win?
Right. Does a replacement level team, right? The most average team, which I think Boston College is a little above average, to beat this year's Clemson offense and whether, of course, an excellent defense. I think you can beat Clemson with 24 points, which is an incredibly difficult feat.
Yeah.
Even for our beloved Boston College.
Right.
It's an incredibly difficult feat. I think BC covers this game. I think it's a similar situation to Oklahoma as just look, the odds makers are saying there's got to be some pixie dust left in the Clemson basket. I'd like to see it first. I'd like to see Clemson cover a spread against a decent team before I push my chips to the middle and say, all right, I'm ready. No, I don't see it. I'm taking the points here. I'm absolutely taking the points. ACC Network magic. Here it comes.
ACC Network magic.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Baylor, Oklahoma State.
Sure.
It's an interesting game. When I went through and tried to find the edges here, I'm always looking at the angles, Dan. I'm very into that. I like everything. Every hunch I had was to go Oklahoma State.
Okay.
And so the joke I made in the preview show is the old George Costanza opposite thing, where
Mhm.
I feel like this season, every instinct I've had on the Big 12 is wrong, so the opposite would have to be right. I felt Oklahoma State. Everything I read said Baylor. You went Baylor. I read a bunch of like betting folks, stats folks, football. Everybody said, no, it's Baylor. You got to go Baylor here.
Right.
And so that's making me wonder, should I actually stick to Oklahoma State? Should I fade everybody else and stick with I'm just going to go Baylor. I'm going to go Baylor. I'm just going to get on the bandwagon. If I'm wrong, everybody else is wrong too.
My lock of the week was Maryland. So
Yeah, no,
my understanding of the lay of the land, as much as the altar of Dan builds brick by brick, it might not be a good week for the old altar of Dan, just based on that introduction to week 5 last night. So if you want to fade the altar, now is the time.
Speaking of fading, let's talk about the late night dogs in the Pac-12. You had that ASU UCLA game up there.
Mm-hmm.
We read off the stat last week on the show. We got it from our good friends over at the College Football Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
Pac-12 after dark underdogs were 16-2 against the point spread. Arizona State comes into this game against UCLA, and they are about a 3-point dog. Talk me through this. You're a Pac-12 aficionado on the show. I was high on Arizona State until suddenly I wasn't. Now they're dead to me. Should I do an about face here and go ASU?
Well, you have to actually believe in something about ASU specifically. Now, Jaden Daniels, I don't think has been the same. And it was I think BYU is a tough team. It was a tough road spot. But even just in other matchups, they separate from Colorado, which everybody should do. So that's at least a feather in ASU's cap. But there has to be some matchup here. Like, I understand, look, the trends are really nice for 16-2, dogs, Pac-12 after dark, whatever. But at the same, there has to be something slightly intellectual. Don't listen to the way I pick games. There has to be something there where you're saying, okay, I'm not a believer in UCLA because Stanford was able to take advantage of X, or I think Arizona State was just sleeping on BYU. Like, there has to be something there. And I just like UCLA more than I like ASU. I think with UCLA winning that game last year, there's a certain confidence now. That was in Tempe, and that was a very strange game. ASU lost that, I think, because of some red zone turnover issues.
Yep.
I struggle to see right now how Arizona State's offense consistently moves the ball through the air against UCLA. That, to me, is my question, because I'm not a big believer in ASU's guys out wide as big time playmakers. Maybe it'll be proven wrong today. That's the issue I see. And teams that will beat UCLA, teams that have beaten UCLA, the Jalen Cropper from Jake Haener, it was great to see. And I think that's what it takes to beat a good UCLA team, and I don't see it from ASU. So
one game that was not on your graphic was Auburn at LSU.
Oh, that's true.
And I need to know why that is. I need to your anti-Auburn, your anti-LSU bias is showing, Dan. Why are they not on your graphic?
Are they I think they're in the lower banner portion of things, but they're not in my
It's a big game. It's SEC after dark.
I was just spreading the conference love, right? We have SEC at the top with Florida, Kentucky, and then Big 12, Big 10, ACC, and Pac-12. So I was just spreading it around. That's the only reason. But
so let me ask you this then.
Please.
With that said, are you more interested in Florida minus 7.5 on the road at Kentucky, or LSU minus 3.5 at home against Auburn a little bit later on in the evening.
So which, if I were to wager?
No, not if you were to wager, if you were to watch.
Okay. Just watching. Okay. I am more likely to watch. That's a great question. I think I'm more likely to watch Auburn LSU because I think the potential for chaos is more interesting. Because Auburn has quarterback questions, they've been inconsistent on defense, and there's an opportunity for LSU. Right now, I think there's not a lot of happiness surrounding Max Johnson and his play lately. You've mentioned his arm strength or lack thereof, but
yeah.
there is this could go in a bunch of different directions element to that matchup. Where like that's the game I would tune into.
I like Auburn's secondary, and I love watching Tank Bigsby.
Okay, that's a great call.
I don't love watching Bo Nix. I never have. Well, that's not true. I used to. I don't anymore. And the LSU thing, it feels like yet another kind of experiment, right? With a new set of coordinators and Max Johnson trying to find his way at quarterback. I'm a Max Johnson fan. He does throw a lot of changeups. There's a lot of off-speed stuff coming out of that arm, but I'm very curious in that game because I kind of don't know which way it's going to go. Whereas with Florida, Kentucky, I'm fairly confident Florida's going to win that game. I think Florida's going to win that game. As I've joked on the show, Will Levis is back. He's back to Penn State version of Will Levis, and that's not
how dare you
intended as a compliment.
Right.
So if I'm watching that game, if I'm watching any of those games, I would definitely side with you. That's the 9:00 game, I believe, on the SEC network. I give this one 3 Jack Fowlers.
This window, you're giving 3.
3. And I am backed up by our community that is watching as well. They voted on 3.
I think that's right. I think there's more good than not in the late window. There's a lot of potential and possibilities for weirdness. So I think 3 is a great one. I wish there were some sort of crazy headline matchup. Of course, Fox moves all of its bigger matchups now to the noon Eastern window for Big Noon Saturday. So we're going to see less of those huge ones, those Titans fighting at the top of the sport at 7:30, 8 o'clock. You like that? Titans fighting? Yeah. I still think it's a good night. I mean, look, I would watch all of those games happily. Baylor at Oklahoma State is going to be fascinating to me because Oklahoma State still needs to play offense for 4 straight quarters. And this would be such an amazing, and I mentioned this on the show, on the preview show, if Baylor's able to go on the road, to go to Stillwater, a difficult place to win, and keep things up just in terms of looking decent to pretty good, it's a great, great look for Dave Aranda early on in his tenure there.
Dave Aranda.
All right.
You want to get some comments?
We got 5 minutes left here, Dan. Lay it on me.
Ty doesn't understand Pac-12 after dark.
No?
I would say Dan has been to Pac-12 after dark games, maybe before it was called that, but Dan doesn't understand because Dan's asleep by 10 p.m. Central.
What don't I understand about Pac-12 after dark?
Your West Coast footprint isn't as pronounced as mine.
Okay.
I'm giving the BC Clemson game 5 unjacked Paul Christs. So let's talk about visually what this may mean. Is that like, remember, wasn't Chris Evans CGI'd into a weakling for the beginning of Captain America?
Yes, that's correct.
So do we need somebody to Photoshop Paul Christ's head on the CGI'd scrawny Chris Evans? Because that's what I'm hearing.
But hear me out. Paul Christ is definitely not jacked as it stands, right? I mean,
he's solid. He's
sturdy, very doughy. No, there's a lot.
There's mass. No, he's not. I mean, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of mass. Yeah.
Okay. Baylor wins. Lock it up. That's Connor. Yep. He's all in on Baylor this week. Everybody's on Baylor, man. Everybody's on Baylor. Freaks me out.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, look, last week there was that special teams, the playmaking that they're just not going to be able to count on every week. The Iowa State special teams are special. They're absolutely special.
They are special.
I like this. DTR scares everyone, probably Chip Kelly most of all. There are rare quarterbacks that statistically look great, that their own fan base is just ready to move past. And I think I think UCLA and their fans are there. Dan, what kind of pizza are we making today? David wants to know. No pizza making today. No pizza making. I didn't have time to make some dough balls later on in the week. Another one here. On your pizza, do you go San Marzano, Romano, or sun-dried tomatoes? None of the above. I buy crushed tomatoes from California and I season them myself and spread them on. They're delicious. I buy a brand called Tomato Magic from Stanislaus. Next question. The best quarterbacks to suck that much. I don't even know what that's in reference to.
Is that a question?
I don't know. Who is the worst good quarterback of the 2021 season?
The worst good quarterback.
I guess. Is it DTR? Is it somebody else? Is it Brock Purdy?
It's probably Brock Purdy at this point.
Yeah. Drop in the comments. Who is
DJU?
I don't know why.
Could he qualify?
We have to have some resume. There's a resume that Brock Purdy is a good quarterback.
Yeah.
That he can look not great. Oh, look at this one. Agree or disagree? The Beavs are Pac-12 contenders based on this year and quite possibly for the foreseeable future. Okay. Contenders, no. Ascending danger, yes. They have got a good quarterback in Chance Nolan. They have some quality playmakers. Contender to me speaks to depth, and it speaks to a combination of quarterback and defense that I don't think the Beav defense is fully there yet. I like their linebackers. They're pretty decent up front. They need to build more. They've built a lot on transfers on offense. I think they are a danger to everybody that they play. But in terms of weathering, that's the contender status to me. They're not there yet. But I could see them growing into getting closer to that for sure.
They've worked the transfer portal pretty aggressively, haven't they?
They have.
And that is very quickly becoming an important skill for any coach to have. Dabo Swinney may want to change his tune on the transfer portal, given the way some things have gone at Clemson this season. But they've been really aggressive up at Oregon State, and they play hard, which
they do.
You could say.
I mean, it's a smart coaching staff. They're quality players, and the combination of smart coaching staff marrying to quality players. Does it exist elsewhere in the Pac-12? Like, I think UCLA, to a certain extent, Oregon and Oregon State. I don't feel that way about the Washington schools. I don't feel that way about Cal. I don't feel that way about USC. I don't feel that way about the Arizona schools. I don't feel that way about Utah or Colorado. So, well, they're one of basically three. That's a great place to start.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Watch out for Iowa, Mark wants to know. Iowa's ceiling this year, Ty. We only have a couple minutes left.
Iowa's got a monster game next week at home against Penn State. I think I saw the projected line before what we saw against Maryland, and Penn State would have been favored by about 6.
Penn State favored by 6 ahead of Iowa's Maryland result.
Correct. Iowa has Penn State's number. Penn State never plays well against Iowa. So
that game's in Iowa City, yes?
It's in Iowa City, and it's, I think, afternoon game.
Okay.
I may have misspoken, but it's like a 4:00 game, something like that. So, I mean, they're going to be fired up. That's a tough spot for Penn State. If Iowa gets past Penn State, then we talk to our kids about Iowa again.
What is there?
That's a big game coming up next week.
What's after that game for Iowa?
I will pull up Iowa's schedule here.
I have it. Here we go. Purdue at Kinnick, so another home game. Bye week before they travel to Wisconsin. Situationally, that's nice. At Northwestern, they're going to be right here. I could go see Iowa Northwestern Saturday, November 6th. I don't know what time that's kicking off. Minnesota, Illinois, Nebraska. Man, yeah. These are the following offenses that will be throwing into the Iowa defense moving forward, which has been nothing short of excellent. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Sean Clifford throwing into the Iowa defense.
Sean Clifford's been very good this year
so far. Purdue and their offense, Wisconsin in that offense, Northwestern's offense. Tanner Morgan and the Mike Sanford experience at Minnesota. Brandon Beaters or whoever's playing quarterback by then for Illinois. Adrian Martinez, who I think is fine against Nebraska or for Nebraska.
Close out the year with Wisconsin.
At this point, if I gave you an over-under of 11.5 wins. Total wins right now for Iowa.
I would go under.
You'd go under. If you're betting
Yeah.
$100 of your own currency.
I would go under. Because that assumes that there are no slip-ups along the way. Now, counterpoint, where are the slip-ups coming?
Well, Spencer Petras against the Wisconsin defense. Wisconsin can win that game 10-7, especially if the weather's weird. Penn State, obviously, is a significant threat. That's the thing. It's beating Wisconsin is just don't turn the ball over, which is crazy easier said than done. But if a team is able to protect the ball and play good defense, you stand a really decent shot anyway against Iowa.
Iowa favored right now by 7 on the road at Wisconsin. So keep that in mind. I don't know if I buy that line. That line will come down, but that's just through some formulas, be about 7 points.
Ty, any parting shots? The games are starting.
Games are starting. Enjoy your week 5. Don't forget to go on out to solidverbal.com and check out the podcast, all of our articles, Big Boy Bets. By all means, subscribe, like the channel. We will be doing this again for the foreseeable future to get you started and ready for the weekend of college football. The Jack Fowler scale remains in perpetuity until we decide something else stupid enough that we want to use as our metric here. But no, I'm excited. I'm ready. Let's do it. I'm fired up.
I give this show 5 out of 5 Jack Fowlers. We had somebody shout us out watching from Romania.
Nice. All right.
That's good, Romania. Hey, thanks everybody for watching. Ty, you did terrific. And
you too, Dan. Thank you.
The soundboard is only going to get weird. All right, Ty, enjoy your day.
Peace.
We'll talk soon. And listen, if you're watching, listen to the show tomorrow. If you're a subscriber on verballers.com, Monday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern. If you are not, can't wait to chat.